Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Ascension, The Devil's Dealer reaches a turning point in the life of this powerful E-Steam series story. Get E-Steam Ascension at online booksellers today. Recently, Marvel Comics announced that Ta-Naheshi Coates would be the new writer for Captain America. And I said in a previous video that Ta-Naheshi Coates is grossly unqualified to write Captain America. And the reasons why Ta-Naheshi Coates is not qualified to write Captain America are based on what I have seen as related to his run of Black Panther comic books. Now, your Ta-Naheshi Coates is a National Book Award winning author for the nonfiction book Between the World and Me, and many at Marvel thought he would be able to bring his New York Times best-selling audience over to the Black Panther title, and he would be able to put a fresh take on the Black Panther like Christopher Priest did back in the early 2000s. However, after the 300,000 orders for Black Panther #1, the book has steadily declined, and many readers of the Black Panther comic were completely alienated by Ta-Naheshi Coates' approach to the Black Panther. Now, in Ta-Naheshi Coates' Black Panther, the Black Panther is a passive character who sits back and watches as the world of Wakanda goes on. And from that approach, Coates shows us he has no understanding of how the comic book medium works. And when I take a look at his approach to comic book storytelling, he is more about exposition and world building. And while that stuff is really nice for a fantasy novel in developing the early stages of it, in comic books, it has no real place. When it comes down to comic books are a dynamic medium, and they are an extremely active medium. And that means that the main character needs to be front and center on almost all the pages in the story. We need to either see the hero up front or his alter ego, and that's how you sell a comic book. A comic book has to grab us with big panels of active action going on because it's a visual medium and we need to see those pictures come to life in a way that literally grabs us and stimulates us almost immediately. And with Coates' passive approach to storytelling, it does not really grab the reader from the first splash page, because that splash page is very important, and that's what's going to draw people in to read the first 3 pages of the book, because the first 3 to 5 pages of the book are how you sell the comic. If you can't make a strong first impression on those first 3 pages, you're not going to sell that comic. And Coates has proven over the last couple of years he is just not able to sell comics due to his very passive approach to storytelling. Moreover, his storytelling approach really features a lot of identity politics and social justice, and this was shown in a recent series he did called Black Panther and the Crew, where he had these heroes who were overpowered, like Storm and Black Panther and Luke Cage and Gateway, talking about how they wanted to go to Harlem to change things as related to gentrification. And I listened at that story as I was watching several Diversity in Comics videos, and he clearly showed me he had no real understanding of the issues as related to the neighborhood of Harlem, and he had no understanding of what went on as related to the whole issue of gentrification. Now, I've been a New Yorker for all my life, and I know what goes on as related to Harlem. I know the history of Harlem, and I know what's related to gentrification. And he sat there and gave us a whole story talking about the issues of Harlem, but he really didn't understand what went on as related to white flight back in the 50s and the 60s, the fiscal crisis of New York City in the 70s, nor did he talk about the decline of Harlem in the 80s as related to black flight. So he sat there and talked about this issue, and he was writing about this issue, but he didn't understand the history of Harlem, and he made no efforts to do the research on Harlem. Moreover, he did no research on any of the characters. He had Black Panther in a suit and tie, he had Luke Cage in regular clothes, and he had Storm in regular clothes, and nobody was doing anything heroic in that whole Black Panther and the crew story. And that really sucked the life out of that book and led to it being canceled by the sixth issue, or really by the second issue. It was canceled by the second issue, and it went up to the sixth issue. But the book was so terrible because of the way he wrote the story. He showed that he had no real understanding of issues in the black community, even though he had written this book, Between the World and Me, which got this National Book Award. He showed me that he didn't understand black issues in the black community. And with his Black Panther run, he showed that he really did not understand T'Challa, and he did not understand superheroes, and it was all about him espousing his identity politics and his agendas as related to black people. And when I take a look at his approach to storytelling and his approach to pushing all this social justice, it again shows me how grossly unqualified he is to write a character like Captain America. Now, Captain America is one of Marvel's flagship characters. Up there with Spider-Man and the Hulk, he is one of the most identifiable characters to everyone in the world. And when it comes down to Captain America, he is a character who really needs to be written a certain way. And in order to write good Captain America stories, you have to understand what America is about, what the Constitution is about, and what American history is, and what America really stands for. And your Ta-Nehisi Coates, in his approaches to storytelling, shows that he has a complete expression of contempt and disdain for what this country is all about, what our Constitution is all about, and what our laws are all about. And his approach to storytelling on Captain America would not really be a good fit. I look at his approaches to Black Panther and his passive approach to heroing, and that does not fit Captain America. Captain America is a bold character. He is a dynamic character. He has energy, and he explodes off the page. He's a super soldier, and I don't see Ta-Nehisi Coates being a good, organic fit for Captain America with his kind of stories. Now, these editors at Marvel believe that his political view would work, but I don't see his political view working on a character like Captain America. I've read almost all the issues of the Mark Gruenwald run of the Captain America run, and that's one of the benchmarks I would use to judge any writer as a standard. When you take a look at Mark Gruenwald's run of Captain America, it was a mix of action and adventure and patriotism, and that run really captured, as I saw it, what a good Captain America run is, because Captain America is a guy who's literally willing to stand for what is right. He's a guy who's willing to do the right thing, and he's one of those characters who I could honestly say isn't a racist in the Marvel Universe. He's one of the most fair characters. He's one of the most balanced characters. And I remember reading books like the X-Men versus the Avengers when Magneto was trying to get Captain America to express his anti-mutant feelings, and he zapped him with a helmet, and Captain America showed he had no anti-mutant feelings. Captain America has worked with people all over the world. He's worked with aliens all over the world, and he has always made efforts to treat everyone on the same level. That's one of the reasons why I have such great respect for that character, because he literally embodies what an American should be about. He's not about race. He's about judging people based on Martin Luther King's concept of the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And he's willing to give everybody a break, just like I saw in the Scourge storyline by Mark Gruenwald, where he literally had to help the bad guys stop Scourge from killing other bad guys. That's really a testament to how great a hero Captain America truly is, in that he's willing to set aside his issues regarding his enemies to do what is right in the name of justice. I mean, as Scourge killed over 20 some odd supervillains in the Bar with No Name massacre, the one guy who had came in on the carnage, the Water Wizard, he was so terrified that Captain America took a minute to comfort this guy, help this guy out, and then try to help him deal with things. And he also helped out other villains like Diamondback as she tried to make her changes in life. And he's always been that type of character. He's all about the ideals of America and representing those ideals of America. And I don't see someone like Ta-Nehisi Coates representing that with Captain America. I don't see him understanding who Steve Rogers is, what his mission was, and why he cares so much about preserving things like freedom, like he did in Civil War. When I take a look at Steve Rogers in Civil War, his position was the correct position because that's what America is all about. It's about people having that right to be free to pursue their own life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness without government regulations. And that was something that he had made a reference to back in the day when they had the Mutant Registration Act. He was all about protecting those mutants' rights in the same way he wanted to protect heroes' rights during Civil War. So when I take a look at Steve Rogers' position, Steve Rogers' position was always consistent from writer to writer until we get to this Ta-Nehisi Coates, a guy who shows me again he had no understanding of how Black Panther operated, and that he turned one of Marvel's alpha males, one of the leaders of Wakanda, the leader of Wakanda, the king of Wakanda, into a beta male who was completely submissive to the women in Wakanda, and then made him a background character in his own book. And now he wants to be, Marvel's editors are going to put him on Captain America, and that's going to further put damage on one of Marvel's flagship characters, because I look at what Nick Spencer did to Captain America with that horrible Secret Empire storyline where he tried to tell the world that Captain America was a Nazi, and that was a slap in the face to Simon and Kirby because they were Jewish men, and here you are telling them that their character was originally a Nazi, and that was a middle finger up at many of those comic fans. And then instead of letting Mark Waid continue to try to fix the character, which he was trying to do before he went full SJW in the last couple of issues, we get Ta-Nehisi Coates coming on to try to further tarnish the image of Captain America. It's clear to me that Marvel's editors really don't have an understanding of the characters in their catalog, and they go out of their way to try to push their politics instead of trying to write really good stories featuring Marvel's characters. And when I take a look at what they're trying to do to Captain America, it clearly shows me that even though, while we have C.B. Cebulski as the new editor-in-chief at Marvel, there clearly is a problem as related to the editorial department at Marvel and the direction that they're going in. Even with a new person in charge, they're still going in the same direction, and they don't understand that the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. When it comes down to a character like Captain America, there has to be someone who wants to write this book who clearly cares about this character, cares about this character's history, cares about this character's background, and cares about what this character represents to American citizens and people all over the world and their idea of America. And I don't believe that that person is your Ta-Nehisi Coates, because this man has expressed great contempt for America and great contempt for the ideas of the Constitution and the laws of this land. And that's what makes him grossly unqualified to write Captain America. Now, I myself, I love this country, and I love this Constitution because it gives people freedoms that they don't have in other parts of the world, and it gives people the right to express themselves freely in this country like they can't do in other parts of the world. And I don't want to see a character like Captain America, who is a hero to people all over the world, turned into an apologist who is filled with white guilt the way someone like a Ta-Nehisi Coates would see him. I would like to see Captain America as the hero who goes out and inspires people to be the best they can be, someone who inspires people to make changes in their life the way he did with Rachel Layton, who was Diamondback, or someone who is willing to be a comfort to people like the way he was to Water Wizard when he came upon that Bar with No Name massacre, or someone who was willing to give people a chance like he did with Sam Wilson before he became the Falcon, and someone who was willing to work with others and help them to be better people like the way he did with D-Man and Nomad. With Captain America, he's a hero to people because he represents the best of America, the best of American ideals, and he's someone willing to fight for people who need to be fought for and willing to support those who need to be supported and protect the rights of everyone from those who would look to take away people's rights, like the Red Skull, like the Serpent Society, and like many other people in his rogues gallery and people outside of his rogues gallery, because that's what Captain America does. He's a hero who goes out of his way to help others, and he's willing to do everything to help others because he wants to improve the life of people and the quality of life of people all over the world. That's what Captain America is. He's supposed to be the best in all of us and represent what we could do when we are the best. That's what the super soldier serum is supposed to be. It's supposed to be about a man who is of a sound mind with a perfect body and making the effort to help people be their best and do their best and inspire everyone to take themselves to the next level. And this is something that your Ta-Naheshi coach just doesn't understand about Captain America. And this is what many SJWs don't understand about the Captain America character. They just see someone who represents an evil, an oppressive state, or a white supremacist idea, or a cis white male. But I never saw that when I read Captain America comic books. When I read Captain America comic books back in high school, I always saw a guy who always inspired me to do better, and I always saw someone who believed in being the best and doing the best and setting a really strong and positive example to others. Because when I saw in Captain America, I was things that I saw in myself, and when I look at myself, I always wanted to do better, and I always wanted to show people that I could be the best person I could be. And if I wrote Captain America, I would want to do a character who was in some ways like Mark Gruenwald's Captain America, an Indiana Jones type adventurer, but also someone who was in the community, like my ISIS character, who was like the guy next door who was always there to go where he was needed and wanted to help people in the community and wanted to help people, have a better life and a better quality of life as he took on bad guys in his rogues gallery and he took on threats with the Avengers and abroad. When I take a look at Captain America, I see a hero that is a hero not only to people in the neighborhood, but to other heroes. And when I take a look at this character and I think about what Ta-Naheshi Coates did with Black Panther, it really makes me mad, because when I take a look at the way he butchered Black Panther and just took him completely off the rails, and I take a look at what he's planning to do with Captain America, I don't really want to see him have a run of these comics, because I don't want to see Captain America turned into some apologist sitting there trying to feel guilty about being a white man when he's always made efforts to make people step up and take themselves to the next level, and inspire people to be better than what they are right now. It's clear to me, looking at what he did with Black Panther, he's not the right man for this comic, and he's not qualified to write this comic. I can think of a dozen other writers of color who could write this character, one of them being Christopher Priest, another one being myself, and others like, if he were alive, the late great Dwayne McDuffie. And those guys would be far more qualified to write Captain America than your Ta-Naheshi Coates, a person who, as I see it, has no real business in this comic book industry, because he has no passion for comics, he has no heart for comics, and he has no love for the characters of Marvel Comics or the craft of comic book writing. If you'd like to try some of my SJS Direct titles, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, The Temptation of John Haynes, and the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. And if you want to help me pay for the SJS Direct 2018 catalog of books, you can click the link to my Patreon. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.